everybody. Welcome to Parallax Poetry Salon. I'm going to begin the evening by reading a poem by a Frenchman named Rimbaud. I just picked it up randomly from the Seasons of Hell edition. It's called Morning. Once did I not have a delightful youth, heroic and fabulous, to be written on sheets of gold, too much luck. The what crime, through what error did I deserve my present weakness? You who say that animals sob from grief, that the sick despair, that the dead have bad dreams, try to relate my fall and my sleep. I can no more explain myself than the beggar with his endless patters and Ave Maria. I have forgotten how to speak. Yet today I think I have finished the story of my hell. It was really hell, the old hell, the ones whose gates was opened by the Son of Man. From the same wilderness in the same night, my tired eyes always awaken to the silver star. Through the kings of life, the three magi, the heart, the soul, and the spirit, are not moved. Where shall we go beyond the shores and the mountain to salute the birth of the new work and the new wisdom, the flights of tyrants and demons, the end of superstition? Be the first to worship Christmas on earth, the song of heaven, the marching of nations. Slaves, let us not curse life. So, with that, I'm going to introduce my very good friend, Joe Ross. You can find his extensive bio on the invitation. He's written many books, won many awards. He's an extremely beautiful man and a great poet. And I know that he does not curse life. So Joe, please read us your poetry.
My uncursed poems of life. Yes, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everybody, for coming or watching. And so tonight I'm going to go 20 minutes, maybe a little bit less. So don't worry about the time. And usually what I do is like I go back through my books, I make photocopies, and I just mix them up and put everything in new relations. But for tonight, I decided to go back through the books and put the books themselves in relation. So I'm going to be going back and forth between some volumes. And hopefully that's all I'm going to say tonight. So this is from the Fuzzy Logic series. Exit Wound. There is nothing left to build, but only to tear down desire and repeat it. If a crane could, the rope would not be enough, such as pictures frozen by the frame they're part of. A world at the outside of need. An earnest act of necessity could not make it pretty, so the sea still swells its calling, and who to dive, run, skip, the imagery of wonder. The branches turn to fruit at the outskirts of lasting and leaves us here. The thought has been thought out. Planes fly, lights on, wheels extended to the approaching, and it's always been. Not to use the last of the tower is quite a task. The desk man waits behind his counter of redemption. Will a breeze come? It can't be built, but descriptions are all around. Go grab hold the hammer, ground into sand. Couple from Strata. In line. Not knowing is the best state, and privileged to be the head of it. A roadmap not to be followed is what the guide said. What is eternal is transfigurative, so the book said. Take the nearest stairs and wrestle with them is what I said. For fear of being beneath weight, this heaviness of yes or this heaviness of no, we divided the loaf in half and exactly half were left out. This is invention. This is fable when asked. Interpolation. And now I have a table and an old man sitting under a tree and some memories and finally no rules nor name for you. How to address this? When the knot finally slips and the world comes back, when tomorrow correctly takes its place as today. We began to talk but quickly chased the words away. We put in a symbol, let it be A. It immediately left for not A. How to address this? The sun was setting because an image was called for. We opened the bottles in our sleep, saw straight through the bottom. It was still dark when we awoke, ready for the new day in our sleep, still sleeping. How to address this? Let it be, not A. Okay, so with the American elections coming up, I'm going to read something from one of my first books called The American Voyage. And it's a reflection on what the origins of America was, the stalemates in three sections, the stalemate of adolescence that America is in. And then the third section is hopefully a new voicing. And it's a longer work. It's not a single page poem, but there's a lot of open space. And the way I write poems is really like scoring, like a musical score, because that's how I hear it. So this is the first part, homage to past beginnings. If you took this, a sensation between want and shore, a deep blue wanting sky, waiting water, sun slowed in revolve a straw. You taste not the salt or bend, but ride wraps in tight focus of hide. A change, perhaps a storm, slowing again, abating again. Offshore mountains not speaking here, never allowing crest, you cast a spell. Rocks in the casket, an infant's reply. Long searing sounds, a snap, a tortoise that would not hurt us. You fell the shell, a tree you saw, not knowing, no, never knowing. A king could not be quieted. You resolved the quarrel, a crown ringed with teeth, open waters. Somewhere north is not measured. This angle has a life of its own, just a prison to hold would-be wrongdoers, not to follow or tap you, guided by refraction, an instant before standing behind bars, a green coral grief cast upon barren shores, just a feeling, you said. Smoke, blue smoke burned, a cabin or hut, thatched ice hacked away. Here is no language, you said. Awash or dry, an island empty of rumor, a solitary dance, rooms lighted by reflection, becoming again memory, effaced, thatched in patchwork replies, sealed in hot oil, igniting one to row or not, a roof suspended by sequel, green fish, a nearly impossible straw, a single spark, off blue. The color is air, left to resolve in its own, a long charcoal sweep, inverting light, a glide above the ground. This vision, your vision, quiet enough to think. The water sent back, an eggshell, unformed and forgotten wish, reeds upon layering reeds, a slight curve in a naked body, held so tight the sky vanishes, heavy air, ambiguous breath. In your will to change, only this. Green tropical cups, half-baked bread. You rise only to float again, not to soar, unable to find ground, solid in your only sand. This world, green, blue, and ambivalent light, the heat pressing down against, the will of current, strings of palm, adagio of fish, a light step into swim, recovering artifice from extinction, even the breath blue, a tongue held in coconut bite, the skin peeled back, raw fruit, rare exclamation, a single purpose, a lame excuse limping for the night. SARS suspended in inverted light. Something is not right. Something refuses to listen, speak, or tell. I'm going to skip to the third section of that which is going a little bit below the surface. It's called below the surface. A gap, 7 years wide and more, at a loss of in between and less, the stars studded in mixed inverted light, objects of worship washed in upon deserted shores, when all is too suddenly calm, brown, flailing in green, a long voyage against rock, the beginning of angle resonating within prism. If you could bring the world in a wide stare into white, the arms open wider than the shoulders allow. When sex is not sex, this goes out, returned in so many others, upturned in misplaced image, rubbing against the edge of it, the stakes pulled, the roots pulled in brown sound, a mixing together in dense community, this land named an unknown call, breaking upon nearly deserted shores. When this goes out, when you begin alone, washed in deserted recall, you begin to think back, a way through from the first voyage to this landing, a rock tossed from sea to pool, our roots disturbed from the clear reflections scattered by the waves made of so small pebble, when home becomes only place. Streets crowded with ambush feeling, not resting here, a land of misplaced hope, inoperable opportunity. You set your sights on, you buy in. Time's erasure of hold if you give in. A land lost in concrete block, unable to face the sea's swell, drowning unwanted thought. The edges ripen. You grab for rotten fruit to get your piece, to bake your slice. The center falls in. The edges collapse in green and brown, a lost community adrift in stale waters, tensions tightened by what was taught, beginning undone, unable to hold, afraid to be always nearer a stop than sail, kept going, spurting against itself. New ways of travel discovered, outstretching, breaking horizons beyond the line of new. A world past proved points, rising rest upon flat merits. A general lack of what's broken back into the sway of sound, still so far away. You choke on it, grasping for breath in the green and blue of ambiguity that will not hold, that cannot hold. Your land, your landing that became ours, this need to be foregrounded upon the wide stare into the coral of tropical cups, disregarded by kings, held in wet deposition. Your image, galloping for the eloping night where light does not hold. It was a simple story, cut in abandoned reply, longing for the together which had to become cement, trapped by that of what was, the inverted reflection of a broken crystal, a land of paralysis, miming only empty belief. This leaning into wind, which became fall, you're turning color into a blind white light. Scan, if you must, the solitary cabin which became the prism of blue smoke burned, hatched away, thatch and cast upon barren shores. Floating in the ice, you become the single cube of green fish, making room for the dance of rumor, becoming a face of memory, a sequel to thought, needing a simple spark of single reed, a simple sounding to see, to glide off the ground in unformed wish. This was the land of your birth in a forgotten eggshell hope, newly polished, a lack of where you fought not here, to become only undone by lost connection. Can you understand this afloat, a parade of ancient vine? Look, strained to see, to return to what turned into this lost island, afloat upon borrowed swells. It was not yours. Taken in an assault of wealth, the tips unmatched with poison firepower led, a paralysis set in, the spirit taking with immobile cure, a tone not heard to be majestic, a tribal yell at brutal sea. while the seeds gave up in unplanted harvest. Oh, okay. I think you can hear the colonialism in that. All right, so I'm going to read a couple short poems from Equations Equals. And this book was written with with two words put in a dialectic against each other, and just to see what would happen when we put them together. Something like that. Ordain cost. So ordain colon cost. First, throw out all notions of sin. Create or let the space at the end of skin. I come back to count empty bottles, take stock, flip open want. Context, the container of necessity. Form, simply the action of the shake. And content, the you to do. A fill up threatening the breadth of this wide. I don't want it shorter, just better, like how I already feel your push away. A close come, very near and dear, but ultimately the thing said divides, or rather pushes the show and you to stage, but can't perform. You will refuse to be content as audience. The figures front the fire. Priest burn, turn, look. Dizzy morality. I said, yo, flip flop. Welcome to Top World. The spinning excuse for society is yours. Hand thread the hang time wound tight and pulled fast. The gun chases its own logic. Street laid, wasted alley logic. Backed out and busted. So, dude, this is deal world. Bag out and sold. Mainlined out. Said, make your own here. This is a guilt-free zone. Fulcrum overboard. Failed starts of absolute envy. I Indian dance on your tomb mound. Your was includes my won't. I take air, fire, gin speak. So she wasn't so surprised when I said I want to roll you up in canvas, tie you across my tongue, roll you in wet leaves and honey, make love to you on spiked wood, oil rub your head, and word massage your mind. So what's a girl to do? She said yes, and surreal melted this poem. We come back. Child talk, green salmon days, crisp lettuce shorts, bread, like how it's too easy to say, I need your dough to rise, or no war, peace. Challenge the think said, word fight you're given, wrestle with your there cure, and sure, I'll meet you halfway. Look, we all need to touch, buy better brands, reach across an otherwise curious divide. Then again, some of my favorite games don't have any rules. My best friends simply exist in a nod, in a yes. Advocate, don't wear black. My muse these days is a lit spoon. Impossible morning blindness cream. I want to scrape your insides out. Add butter, add salt, pull your poles, and maybe polarize your Polaroids. Expose your stops of this life. Dried time, only dried time. Your makeup make-believe won't press vision, this mundane vision of coming between yourself, these sheets like going north to get south or running to the east to fill up your west. Quest on, my hero. Lance me a dragon, slay me a wizard. How far out could you go to get in? Go on, try out, tire out. The little train that could had a secret about knowing the right track. They never tell you that. Screw it. I just want to razor cut this rope wound round your neck. Sorry. Sorry for the facts. Sorry for the fates. Sorry for the way the cards got dealt. So no real big deal. We used to it. Welcome to us. Post-hype, post generation. Here we are, post out, looking to get back in. The outpost generation, raised on division, schooled in revision, a multimedia blitz, a fractured mind, sampled and re-recorded. We'll rewrite the insides out. That was a angry little book that I wrote because I saw bad things on the horizon. Um, and that was some of the nicer poems in it. And so after doing that, I wanted to write something as beautiful as I could. And I'm going to read a couple of pages from 1,000 Folds. Uh, This is from the first section. It's called Of Circumstance and Odd Chance. That it would begin like this. Water calling from under a bridge. Words in an Italian notebook from a century ago, or several, she says thank you for. It is so late that we may be too early for the next century, which you say may never come. In our lifetime of loss is found in the water the reason of solstice or solace. Next to a soulless iron gate, you beg to be let in on the joke that is a life without a line, to hold the lineage leading from heretic to hypocrisy, this trying too hard to say in simple words that there are none left but in traces. The impressions of too heavy hand on the next page blank. Why, it could have been the water or a glass smile, forming a mirror in which you see you and not the flesh or of kin less kind nor king. This search, while searching straight past the obvious intrudes, in rude awakening of not so simple sleep. This peaceless push beyond water is a memory or dream, lapse held in motionless reply of being. You will not say that you do not know what is knowledge. Ripped on the edge of footsteps, annoyingly close, yet too fast. This current trying to catch the tide between each wave is another without time to call as its own. This legacy limping story to story is the villa or villain you run past without seeing what arose as a garden near a river from which you could not drink in, the landscape so perfect in the sound of trees or their leaves, holding the secret of what falls caught just beyond vision. You're seeing the meaning of this conversation in tongues. The sages spoke of fountains more dangerous than men whose war is behind us. Yet peace is passable. The roots of ancient caravans take us by the knees, needing a thrashing to cut through mistaken divinity, leaving clearing as a chore left to do. In between the times of war is war again. It is the sight of blood which becomes before the smell opens out into an empty expanse of remembrance for those who have fallen, rising in the flowering wing. And from the third section, just 2 pages. Pushing what flowers. You see, is the ending lost as ice flows, so us, into another time where declarations or declamations erupt in erudite emptiness of hollowed out warnings that there is no time to lose in the waiting for dream simple engagements. Click, then lock, as if it were a question to each statement's purpose, or suppose it is a proposition. Then what is the turning into unanswerable question? Is it not to be? Held in each moment's passing is what found, fulfilled in the instant, an instant undivided, canceling time for all time, bears no witness to this as what is there without doubt. It is nothing but the certainty that you are not asking. The question falls between the passing understanding and the passive resistance, which begs form to follow. What will you be is clear in the clarity of becoming. And I guess one last coda from Equations to end here. Addiction, bliss. With you, all things are possible. possessed, taken, and sure. I cut across the daylight and write this, a thank you, a belief round around the other side. Come with me past mythology, beyond the shipwreck bricks. I stick my hand into ashes, wet earth, face fire to cool down. I want to wrap my breath around you, your love poem, a flag wave to the head, branded and coming to. The other half is words, just words, silence, and full. Thank you.